Hi everyone, I am Kate Rorick of Fishbowl Solutions. I will be running the presentation today, but I'm going to turn it over to Rick Passolt and Ross Jessen, our two lead experts in all things PTC Windchill and MPMLink related. So welcome to Rick and Ross, and thanks for joining us today.
This is Rick Passolt with Fishbowl Solutions. Thanks for joining us today. I was thinking about, normally the normal order is we're usually at Badgerland in, like May or April, and we're usually presenting a topic that we're getting ready to present in Boston at LiveWorks. But obviously, with all the excitement lately, we get to do it over Zoom. So our agenda for today, so I'll just, I maybe have one slide, and we have a couple slides total, and then Ross is going to get into the meat of the topic here with MPMLink. Fishbowl, we've been a PTC partner since day one, since 1999, so over 20 years, and our focus has always been to, exceed our customers' expectations. We're not a huge company. We're, 45 people here in the Midwest. And, if we can have happy customers, we're going to be successful, and our customers are going to be successful, and we'll both move forward. So, our group, for Ross and I here at Fishbowl, all we do is focus on PTC. Really look at our partnership with PTC, where we actually develop software applications to automate, integrate, make PTC better, and especially when you look at Windchill, where are there gaps that we can close with either applications or functionality to help our customers move forward and be more productive and profitable. So with that, if you have other questions about Fishbowl, we can, I can go on and on. I'm a sales guy, but what I really want to do is just introduce Ross. Ross has been around PTC products forever, hundreds of applications and integrations with Windchill and Creo and all of that. So I'll turn it over to you, Ross.
Thanks, Rick. So basically, we chose to focus this topic on manufacturing bill materials for Windchill, and that whole EBOM to MBOM transformation process. It's an integral part of the engineering to manufacturing change management process. So you can unite those. You can include facilities service related deliverables as well, and then really streamline that whole BOM release process to ERP. So it's all about gaining concurrent product and process development, so you can get manufacturing involved sooner in the process. So talking about some of the best practices on BOM transformation, it's really integrating everything into a single integrated PLM system, bringing your manufacturing people in as well. A lot of times you find them out in another system, an MES system, or for a lot of companies, it's just using Word documents and things like that to do process plans and work instructions and things like that. But typically, or what we see quite often is people managing their MBOMs literally out of Excel spreadsheets, things like that. So they might start with the engineering BOM, but then they want to insert some phantoms, kit some things up, or move them around because of the manufacturing processes. And in order to do that, they're literally importing into Excel and then manipulating and ending up with their BOM and documenting that and controlling it within another system. So this is really about uniting all that within Windchill, so everyone's in the same system, and that way manufacturing can get involved earlier and not lose or have to redo work that they've done. So you're really leveraging your design investment further throughout the business. And then some of the new functionality that we really focused on, PTC has been very active in what they've been doing with NPM recently over the last year or so, especially, and they've got a lot of things that are on the roadmap coming out in the future. So, I wanted to get in and explore some of this new functionality myself, and literally what they're adding is the ability to have plant-specific bills of materials and specific attributes that are plant-specific. So that was one of the challenges that we had in the past. I mean, they had the EBOM to MBOM, but you didn't have the ability to handle them separately for different plant locations. So, you might have one plant that actually creates and builds subassemblies, and they're shipped for another facility where they're actually put into the end item units. And because of that, it's more or less a make in one facility, but a buy in another. So they want the bill of materials to act differently. There wasn't a great way to handle this in the past. So PTC's extended it, added this type of information, so you can keep more and more inside the system, and it counts for it, and you can then push it down to your ERP systems, so that it's realized there as well. So that's really what we're gonna, some of the things we're gonna highlight today is some of the new functionality there. So this just kind of shows a couple screen captures of what the new interface looks like, and where we're really going to spend a lot of time today is the manufacturing associative part structure browser. So that's the place where the manufacturing engineer really lives and spends his time in order to transform the BOM from an engineering BOM to a manufacturing and then a plant specific BOM. And so it's an entirely different interface, and it's got the functionality to take all that. So we'll get into that in more detail throughout the demo. So it's basically a recorded demo we did in advance to save some time. It goes through a lot faster than if I was doing it live, but then we'll have an opportunity at the end to answer any questions you might have. Yeah, so basically just to give you a little foreshadowing of what we're going to go through, the first part of the demo is really about the XBOM transformation. So how do we take that EBOM and go to MBOM? We're going to insert some phantoms there. We're going to create the plant-specific BOMs and add some plant-specific attributes. From there, it's quite common to have configurable modules, options and variants, or configurable assemblies. So I highlight how those can be extended. So I do a real quick example of defining a configurable module. And what we do is take the assembly, and we're adding a different boom arm on it that has 3 different options. So I show quickly how that can be done. And as final part of the demonstration, I go ahead and set up some distribution targets using the ESI product, and I do some exports, really giving very plant-specific bills of materials that would, and I'm just doing examples going to XML, to demonstrate that. It could go to Oracle or SAP or whatever ERP package is, but I just basically highlight how it captures those BOM-specific differences and pushing it out into another system. It could be ERP, it could be MES. So with that, I think we get into the demo. For today's demonstration, we'll assume we are the manufacturer of medieval trebuchets. We have multiple manufacturing locations, some of which build subassemblies that are used at other locations. Our goal is to have plant-specific bill of materials that correctly reflect whether it is a make or buy for that location. To do this, we will leverage PTC's MPMLink module and the new view-specific enterprise data capability. From the top-level assembly, we will open the manufacturing associative part structure browser. This tool allows us to view and manage the structure and associative relationships of parts or assemblies within the context of an upstream engineering BOM and its downstream manufacturing BOM. Engineering BOMs are typically oriented towards functional relationships, which may not be consistent with how the product is built. In this example, we want to include a phantom assembly to capture that the counterweight bucket sides are built as a subassembly at one location and transferred to another location for final assembly. We select the action to create a new downstream branch and select the option to duplicate without propagation. This option will create a manufacturing view of the object we specify and duplicate the structure underneath. We can also create the manufacturing view without any structure underneath it, or duplicate the structure while creating a manufacturing view for each of its child objects. Typically, a new manufacturing view is only created when it deviates in some way from the design view. With the manufacturing view of the counterweight now in place, we will create the new phantom subassembly underneath it. We can create the new subassembly from within the Manufacturing Part Structure browser from the Uses tab. We will assign the number and name to our new subassembly and adjust any other desired properties at this time. With the new subassembly created, we will assign a quantity of 2 and drag and drop the child objects onto it. Note that the quantities on the child objects are automatically adjusted to reflect the correct counts. We have now completed the addition of an extra subassembly that will be common to the plant-specific BOMs at all locations. Note that the window on the left of the Manufacturing Part Structure browser always reflects the upstream view, while the window on the right reflects the associated downstream view. Before creating our plant-specific BOMs, let's check in the changes we have made so far. To create the BOM for our Bristol plant, we will first change the downstream filters to display the Bristol plant. Display filters like this are typically created by an administrator and then can be applied by users. Users can also create new display filters or extend these save filters as needed on their own. The upstream window will now be changed to display the manufacturing view that is common to all plants. We can see the current display filters being applied in the header bar of each window. The new downstream branch for the Bristol location will be created without child objects since this location does not build the subassembly. This subassembly is built and transferred from the Derby location, so it is considered a plant buy at Bristol. We can now adjust any plant-specific properties. For example, we can specify where the inventory is normally stored within the plant. We will now adjust the make buy attribute to reflect that it is considered a plant buy at Bristol. Finally, we will go ahead and check in the changes we have made so far. The next step will be to create a plant-specific branch for our Derby plant that accurately reflects how it is built there. Again, we will begin by specifying the applicable display filter for our upstream and downstream windows. We will then create the Derby-specific downstream branch, but this time we will include the child structure since it is built at Derby. For each plant, we want to have a complete and accurate bill of materials reflecting its state at that location. Again, we can adjust any plant-specific properties. We will now specify where the inventory is normally stored at the Derby plant. The attributes that are available can be configured to meet your specific needs. We will now adjust the make by attribute to reflect that it is considered to be a plant make at Derby. We can even extend the bill of materials with any additional items required by the manufacturing process at Derby. For example, there is actually a shipping container that is used to facilitate the transfer to Bristol, so we will want to include that in our bill of materials as well. We can create the new shipping container from within the Manufacturing Part Structure browser by going to the Uses tab and specifying the name and number we want to assign to it. Additional attributes can be assigned as well. We will now go ahead and check in the changes we have made so far. We can review the engineering bill of materials as well as all the plant-specific bill of materials by simply changing the display filters from within the Manufacturing Part Structure browser. Note that the window on the right is currently showing a lower level subassembly. We'll adjust the display filters so that we can see the equivalent downstream part from our engineering BOM, and then we can go ahead and open it directly, and then view all of the different downstream views by simply changing the display filter. So we see that at Bristol we have a plant buy, while at Derby we have a plant make. We can go ahead and show our enterprise data. Note that the view-specific enterprise data is actually treated as a sub-object associated with the plant view of this subassembly. Next, we would like to add some configuration options to our trebuchet. In addition to the standard swing arm, we would like to add a long range and a heavy duty option as well. We will begin by adjusting our top level assembly to be a configurable module. We will also change it to be an end item. The end item designation implies that it's a saleable unit and it typically will have a SKU number assigned to it. We will make a similar change to the swing arm assembly and designate it as a configurable module as well. Next, we will add a new configurable assembly within the swing arm to replace the current swing arm. This configurable assembly will hold the 3 swing arm options in an overloaded fashion. We can continue our work from within the Manufacturing Part Structure browser as well. Let's go ahead and open it at this time. First, We will drag and drop our standard arm to lie underneath the configurable module we just created to hold our arm selections. Next, we will want to create the 2 additional arms. We can do this by going to the Uses tab. We will then specify the name and number associated with each of the 2 new arms. With our 3 options in place, we will then go to the Details page for the configurable module we just created to hold the selections so that we can assign the option set that allows us to specify which arm option is being applied. You can see that I have already created a couple of option sets, so I just need to select the applicable one to be assigned. Options and choices can be created from the Option Pool tab of the product or library container. They can be segregated within groups in the tree structure to better organize them. Option sets are then created to define variations within a product family. Choices are added to the option set by referencing options from the option pool. When working with complex products, you may need to use different option sets for individual subsystems or technologies while using a top-level option set to control the overall product configuration. Going back to the configurable module I created for the arm selections, I will now enable the applicable choice for each of the arm options. An option set is a change managed object, and you can initiate a promotion request or change request against it to release it. I will now return to the top-level assembly and assign an option set to it so that I can control the arm selection from the top-level product. To view the corresponding assembly structure for each of the arm options, I can simply go to the Option Filters tab within the Display Filters and select the desired option. We will begin by selecting the Long Range option. We can see that the assembly structure is updated to reflect the correct bill of materials for that configuration. I'll now change the option to view the Heavy Payload option. Again, we see that the assembly structure is updated. When we are done, we can go back into the Options filters and clear our choice. And once again, we will see that the overloaded structure is reflected in the bill of materials, showing all of the available options. We'll go ahead and check in all the work we've done so far. Next, I would like to highlight how the product structure we've defined in Windchill can be shared with the rest of the organization using the Windchill ESI or ERP connector modules. Out-of-the-box distribution targets are available for SAP and Oracle, but can also be created using XML files and a variety of transports to provide a real-time connection between Windchill MPMLink and other systems. Supports the transfer and mapping of business objects such as parts, bills of material, configurable modules, change objects, documents in CAD, and even manufacturing objects. This is a highly configurable module, and implementation details will vary greatly depending on the needs of your organization. However, I will focus on a very simple example. I want to highlight the plant-specific information that we created earlier. Returning to the manufacturing parts structure browser, I will create a plant view of our top-level assembly for each of our plant locations. The plants may only need to receive information from the lower-level assemblies pertinent to them, or they may wish to receive an entire top-level bill of materials as seen from their particular perspective. If this is the case, we will want to create a plant view of the top-level assembly, which will then be inherited at all levels as it is published to the distribution target. Once I have completed creating each of our top-level plant-specific views, I will exit the manufacturing parts structure browser and select my first plant view. I first need to assign the corresponding distribution target to this plant view, and then I can manually publish to this distribution target. Although I am manually publishing for this demonstration, this would more typically be accomplished within a Windchill workflow during a change approval process to release the product. I will now change to my second plant-specific view and assign its distribution target and publish it as well. I have my distribution targets configured to create an XML file in a designated shared folder location on the network. So to view our results, I can simply browse to that location and open the XML files that were created. I will first open the XML file intended for our Bristol plant. I search on the bucket side assembly, and I can see that this assembly is designated as a plant by, and that its storage location at Bristol is within Building 2. I will then open the XML file intended for our Derby plant. I search on the same bucket side assembly, and I can see that this assembly is designated as a plant make, and that its storage location at Derby is on rack 37. This completes our demonstration.
All right, so a quick recap of what we did there. Basically, we developed the plant-specific BOMs, including sub-assemblies. So we had differences in the main manufacturing BOM from the E-BOMs. We added the Phantom and then dragged a couple components underneath it. And then we created the plant-specific BOMs. The one had just showing the sub-assembly and no components under it because they received it from another location, and then the location that built it showed a fully featured BOM, including
additional shipping container. And then we specified additional plant attributes for each. Then we went through quickly showing how you can add and replace configurable assemblies within the higher level, and that's reflected all throughout. And then finally, going through and showing how the published data through the ASI connector picks up all those differences. And by doing all that, you can bring the manufacturing into the process sooner and reduce time and errors during the transformation process from the engineering BOM to the manufacturing BOM. So with that, if there's any questions, I think you could probably just use the chat, and I don't know if you can turn yourselves on or else we can turn you on. So we'll leave the chat open here, and go ahead and submit your question from that way, or if you want to be enabled so you can speak, we can turn your mics on as well. So just do it through the chat, or else unless you can turn on your own mic. I'm not sure if you can or not.
Yeah, thanks, Russ. See if anybody submits a question or chimes in here, but we do have this available for replay, so you'll be able to go back and watch it. There's a lot of content to it, and I see a couple questions rolling in. I'll reiterate what Ross said. I mean, when we were at the PTC user meeting in January, the big one down in Scottsdale, MPMLink had a lot of interest, and really seeing that investment in there. So the ability to extend the digital thread through to manufacturing, and then there's also a whole process plan module here that we didn't show that we can follow up with. Okay.
All right, so we got a couple questions in. There's one concerning, can it be sent to SAP? There's actually out-of-the-box adapters for both SAP and Oracle manufacturing. So if you wanted to use those, they use TIPCO middleware, and they're completely out of the box, so there's no additional custom, programming required. It's literally an out-of-the-box solution. And you can configure it. There's basically a great big configuration sheet that says, what type of information I want to send and how do I want to send it, what don't I want to have sent, etc. So you fill all that out, and then it targets the data that's sent over to SAP. So that works for a lot of people, especially as part of a new, part release process or product release process. You can literally choose just send over part information, or do I want fully featured BOMs, that type of thing. So those are available for SAP and Oracle, and if you're not doing those, that's when you typically use the XML, and then you're responsible for writing the other side that digests that content and brings it in the ERP system. And that can be delivered a number of different ways. They've got built-in handlers for doing, writing to just a file system, or doing to an FTP site, or literally emailing, I think, is even an option. So there's a number of different ways to do that, and certainly you can also integrate using web services as well. So, but you're responsible for creating that integration if it's not SAP or Oracle manufacturing. And then there are a number of companies out there I know that have, third-party providers that provide solutions for integrating, that have some out-of-the-box solutions to go to, like D365, Dynamics 365 or whatever. So the question was, there's a second question, were the features demonstrated standard MPMLink features? Yeah, what was highlighted today was really about the MBOM stuff. Rick can maybe help me on this, but I believe it's divided into two licensing, one for multi-BOM.
It's a trick question, yeah.
Yeah, it is. It's complicated.
So where Ross is just saying there is one license for the process plans, which we didn't show today. There's another license that covers the XBOM, and really what PTC has is a different bundling now, where you can get the MBOM and all the functionality that he showed today in one of the licenses. This includes some of the options and variants and all of that. They have, PTC has some platform structure modules that we didn't demonstrate today, so and that's an add-on module. So it's the stuff that was demonstrated today would have been traditional MPMLink, but in the new bundling it's part of their extended package that a lot of customers have already.
Okay. And then another question came in concerning SAP possibly sending change orders back to MPMLink. That's not in the standard out of the box integration, so you'd be responsible for extending it in order to handle that. But it's certainly something that we've done and helped customers with quite a bit, is doing custom integrations with SAP or other ERP systems. So you can either dig into it yourself or work with another provider like Fishbowl in order to do those types of custom integrations. Something we're certainly very familiar with.
Yeah, so this will be available for replay, and then if you're interested in talking to Fishbowl more, definitely reach out to us. Typical engagement, there's initial discovery, and we can help do some focused demos, and then where you start looking at is this the right tool, doing workshops and some pilot programming to see if it's going to deliver the benefits. So that's all I have. Deb or Kate?
Yeah,
Or
this
do we
is
just
Deb.
sign off?
This is Deb. Thanks so much. I did lose my internet there for about 5 minutes, but appreciate you guys for speaking today at our Badgerland User Group Lunch and Learn. And yeah, hopefully this will get recorded to the cloud, and then it'll get stored on our Facebook and LinkedIn group.
Yeah. Awesome. We miss you guys. Hope to see you someday.
I know. We miss
Again.
you too. Okay. Bye, everybody.
Stay healthy. Yep. Stay safe. Thanks.